Today we're taking a look at another frame. This one's the Realacc Flywin 220. This has a little bit thicker arms than the normal ultralight frame, and it's not quite in the ultralight category. Well, it might be close, but with these thicker arms, it should help with delamination issues that ultralight frames have when they use heavier motors. And the delamination issues are very obvious when you grab the motor and you can twist it like this, and the whole arm twists back and forth. What happens is all those layers inside there have delaminated. It's still flyable, but it flies horrible. Anyway, thicker arms should help that kind of issue if you're having it. If you're not having it, you're probably using lighter motors, which is what you should have done in the beginning. The Flywin 220 comes in a box like this. If you've bought Realacc frames before, you've probably seen this box. Nothing special about it, but they put the unique stickers on to make it a little bit more unique. Anyway, let's get these parts out and we'll see what all it comes with. This one has a bottom plate and a middle plate, and the advantage of that is that with these arms, the way it looks anyway, these should be able to touch together like this between the front and the back, but have some room between them inside the plates for a battery strap to run through the actual frame instead of underneath your power distribution board. That's always a big plus. That way you can run your power distribution board or your flight or your 4-in-1 ESC down a little lower in the frame and make it a little bit more compact. It does come with these 20mm spacers or 30mm spacers, so you're gonna have a lot of room inside your frame if you use the 30mm ones. You could pick up a set of 20mm, but then you're gonna be running kind of tight and you won't be able to use your camera mounts. You have to use some 3D printed ones if you can get them to fit. So here it is partially assembled, and like I was saying, the arms come in here and they touch together right here. The two side ones and the two side ones here touch, but they do not touch in the middle, which provides plenty of room for the battery strap to go inside there. So you can run your 4-in-1 ESC pretty low down onto the board without having to worry about fitting the battery strap underneath it. This is the included power distribution board. There's a 12-volt output over here and a 5-volt output over here, so you can power different things off of this. Now, if you did want to run this down here straight off of these screws like this, you're going to have to worry a little bit about these metal screws, or the metal pieces and the screws too, actually shorting out to the board. Now, hopefully, I didn't check this, but hopefully they didn't run any positive currents through these holes, because if they did, that's going to wear just a little bit and possibly short out. You'd be better off putting either some longer screws in here with some rubber spacers or nylon spacers, and then putting this board on top of those nylon spacers. Usually inside the holes themselves, it's usually not positive inside there, it's usually the ground, so they should be fine, and you can run that on there. Now, if you did try to run it like this, there's not much screw left sticking out top of the top of the power distribution board here, so that's probably not going to work unless you get some longer screws. Here I have the included nylon spacers in place. When you put this power distribution board up on top of here, it gives you a lot of room under there. Now, the nice thing about that kind of room is that you have some place to actually put your VTX or your receiver if you wanted to put it down underneath there. So these included ones make it kind of high, but then you could, you have another spacer on top of here and your flight board up there, so you're still not up to the top. And you kind of get away with it because of these 30mm spacers. If you went down to like a 20, it would be a little bit different story. So here's the frame fully assembled. I got the top plate installed, and I have the little battery protector down here. It comes with a little rubber piece that goes on the top side here, and these little foam pieces down here to help protect the battery strap, I guess. A lot of the Realacc frames come with these, and I don't hardly ever use them. I think they just add weight unnecessarily, unless you're flying over concrete or something. But also, these have the beveled screws in here, so all these screws set pretty flush with the carbon fiber. And the big advantage of that is you can run your battery right up on top if you wanted to, or you can run it down here on the bottom. And these screws down here are also beveled, which is nice. So that's kind of a plus. Now, the bad thing about this, and it's not really bad, maybe it's more preference, is that this bottom plate here only runs to right here and right here. So your battery's only resting on this much space underneath, which means it has a good chance to have a lot of pressure put on the battery itself. So I guess you could take some of these feet that it came with, and these normally go out on the arms, I guess, to help protect it in a crash also. But you could try to put some of these underneath here, and that would help get the battery off of the bottom plate. Another advantage of these things is that they squish. When you put the battery strap on and you pull it tight, it actually squish those down a little bit and puts a little pressure on the strap to help hold it in place a little better, and the battery from sliding out so much. Also, I got the power distribution board in here, and I just use little nuts, the little nylon nuts to help hold it in place for this video. So I'm gonna get the ruler out and the caliper and we'll do some measurements on this frame. So if I measure cross arm to cross arm, it comes up to be spot on 220, just like the name says. From front to back, it comes in about 173. From side to side, it comes in about 136. These arms come in about 4 millimeters and about 12 millimeters wide. The very bottom plate comes in about 3 millimeters. The middle plate's 2 millimeters. And the top plate is 2 millimeters. In between the camera plates, it comes in about 28 millimeters. And the whole quad, fully assembled with the power distribution board and the battery strap holder, or the battery protector on the bottom, comes in about 97 grams. And without the PDB and all the other fancy stuff on here, we just have the frame. It comes in about 75 grams. Here's a 5-inch propeller, and this should easily be able to run 5-inch props. I don't think you're going to get 6-inch props on here though. They're coming pretty tight. Back here in the back, again, it fits 5-inch just fine. I don't think you'd be able to put 5.5 on just because of how far across the middle this reaches. If you had 5.5, they'd probably touch in the middle. They may not touch up here by the frame itself, but down here in the middle, I do think they would touch, and you start getting a lot of slapping going on between the props. Here on this arm, you can see how the carbon fiber strands are going down the arm. That's actually good. You don't want them going horizontal like this or at an angle. You just want them running down the arm, and so that's actually what these are doing. You know, it looks kind of weird with the black and white going this way, but the strands themselves are running down the arm. And what that does, it makes this arm a lot stronger in bending this direction. It shouldn't hardly bend at all. In fact, I'm putting a lot of pressure on it and I don't see it bending at all. Now if I take the whole thing, I can bend it a little bit better. There's a little bit of bend going in there, but nothing substantial or anything. So this is pretty structurally sound with the carbon fiber they used. This is the Flywin 220 sitting next to the Boss medium frame. Now these front arms on both of these are about the same distance apart. The Flywin 220 is a little bit longer, but the body on this is actually pretty long, and you can see that in the angle that these arms make. And what that does for you, having a longer body, is it gives you more room inside the frame for your camera. You know, beyond your flight board. Now if you look at this one, there's the flight board's all going to go right there, and your camera is kind of shoved up pretty tight against them. It's not necessarily bad, it just means you're going to have a little less playroom inside there. Like I said here, you have a lot of room inside there. So anyway, whichever one you kind of like better ends up just being more of a personal preference than one being better than the other. So here's the HS1177 style camera, or the full-size Runcam Swift. That's what this is designed for. And you can see here I got it sitting about a 45-degree angle. And there's not much coming past these posts. So as long as you build all your stack back behind there, you should be okay and not have any conflicts between your flight boards and your camera. Up here on the top, this is what the camera mount looks like. And I'm not really sure how you would hook up your, if you have an extension cable or something to this. But if you have your entire VTX sitting up here on top, you can zip tie the back of it to this and have it come out the back. But you're probably going to be better off using some kind of 3D printed thing to grab onto these spacers and angle that VTX antenna down about a 30-degree angle or so, or up if you want. Either way, it would probably work fine. Now, if you're actually using this for a long distance flying, then you're gonna not want to do that. But for racing, it should be fine. Now, it does have these giant cuts right through here, and I'm not sure what that is for, other than to just make it look cool. But it kind of makes these a little bit weaker up here on the top. At least it kind of felt like it when I was messing with it earlier. But I think it'd be okay. I mean, there's not really a lot of pressure that's going to hit just this without hitting all of it, I don't think. So I don't know. It looks cool. I guess that's part of the game. So, I don't know. Other than that, this frame really is not too bad. I wish it would have had something else down here on the bottom to zip tie the cable coming out for your XT60 connector. Something to zip tie down, that way it holds it on there. I guess you could try to zip tie it to your arm or to one of these posts, but you know, having something built into the frame or cut into the frame, I think always makes it a little bit easier. It has two screws to hold the arms on. One of them goes through the bottom plate, arm, and the top plate into the spacer, which is okay. As long as you put a little Loctite on there, it should be okay. The other one goes up here and it gets into these little ground washers, these lock washers that, or lock nuts, I guess, that slide down into the carbon fiber and bite it a little bit. Now that's okay, except for that's also part of your flight board stack. So if you're gonna use this frame, you're gonna need some kind of anti-vibration dampening to get the vibrations to not go up into the flight board so much. Otherwise, you're gonna have a lot of twitches that will go on with that thing. So that's something else to look out for. So this is the Realacc Flywin 220. I think this is a pretty nice frame. As long, like I said, you get some vibration dampening in there, get some vibration dampening on your arms, and you're gonna be able to run 6S on this with some decently heavy motors because these arms are a little bit thicker and a little bit wider. Well, I guess they're about the 4mm thick. So 4mm is kind of the de facto standard nowadays, but being 12mm wide, they should be able to take a lot of abuse and not crack. Now, I haven't seen any replacement parts for this, so you might have to just consider that when you're buying it. Maybe you have to pick up 2 frames to make up to have extra arms. But overall, this is a pretty nice frame. This is probably one that I may end up building out, or it may go to a race prize at one of our races. Anyway, if you do have any questions about this Realacc Flywin 220, leave them down in the comments. I will try to help you out as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.